You know what? It's that simple. You live your life to your values and you really will be living congruently and you will be happy and you will have that rock solid self-belief in everything that you do. It's not hard to live an extraordinary life. You just have to know who you are. Hello and welcome to the podcast and video channel Connected with Melissa J. Scott. Thank you for choosing to come and watch this video or listen in on our podcast. We're going to make sure it's really worth your time because I really respect just how valuable your time is and how precious my time is too. So I just want to assure you that each and every one of our podcasts is going to be of extreme value. So this is our very first podcast and video. And I know I'm a little late coming to the party, but in hindsight, I'm really glad I waited. I've been on a bit of a personal and business journey myself over the past 25 years, which will no doubt unfold as the weeks go by. And I'm right on target with my message right here, right now. That I had launched any sooner, it just would have been like all the other digital marketing and branding podcasts out there. And I just want you to know that Connected is so much more. I see this too often in business that people push rather than letting it flow because they believe they should be podcasting or that they should be creating tons of content, even though they're not clear on their message. And then the message just doesn't feel connected or feel authentic because it's not. So there's a time in life to push and a time when you just need to flow. And now is absolutely the right timing for me to be releasing our Connection podcast and the video channel. So my name is Melissa and I'm leading a connection movement across the globe because I believe the Western world is literally starved of true connection and instead we're burying ourselves in busyness and things to fill the gaps in our lives, but we're missing something really deep. We keep looking for the answers outside of us and so we buy more stuff and we consume more how-to videos that all promise the world if we just buy their thing. And we live under the hope that technology is going to keep us feeling connected, and yet loneliness and depression and anxiety are at epidemic levels. And it feels like the more we are connected through tech and the more stuff we buy, the more isolated we truly become because it just isn't filling us up. And it's just really adding to all of the clutter. So I guess you might like to know a little bit more about me and why you should even be listening to what I say. So I started out as a graphic designer many years ago and then I pivoted into being a web developer when the world went digital. That gives away my age. And then I evolved into a marketer when I wanted to learn how to connect with clients on a whole new level. So I not just wanting to create pretty websites. So I'm the founder and creative of two advertising agencies, Divine Creative Agency, which is coming into its 21st year in business. And then there's Heretic Creative Agency, which we've only just launched. And I'm also the very proud creator of our own online connection marketing rockstar brand edition course. And that's where we teach business owners and marketing managers how to connect to their teams, to their own businesses, their customers, and potential and new clients through our own version of connection marketing, which I personally created. So it's fair to say that I'm a bit obsessed with connection because I just see it working. And it's the difference between having a decent business that chugs along compared to having a business that is really going off the Richter, where all your team are motivated and inspired to be working with you, and your brand is really sought after by your target audience. My personal mission is to impact over 1 million business owners, brand and marketing managers, and entrepreneurs through our method of connection marketing. Too many people in my industry have mistaken technology and cookie cutter sales funnels and strategies that work really great for one person, but then they can be a real dismal failure for another, and they mistake this for connection. So they're not, they're just tools. It's about people. It's us showing up authentically and with a deep desire to do good things in the world through our business and our personal belief that creates the true connection. So who is this podcast video channel for? Well, it's for people like you and it's for people like me. And what we have in common, I'm guessing, is that we're all on a mission to see change in ourselves, see change in our businesses, our families and communities, and even the world. We dare to dream really big because we know that we should be asking for more in our lives because we are capable of so much. So my business partner and I have a theory that we are part of the 2% in this world. If you look at the diffusion of innovations model, where we have a typical bell curve of how quickly people respond to change and technology, you have the innovators at the very front of the bell curve just making up 2.5%. Then you have the next 13.5% who are the early adopters, and like so on and so forth. I believe this to be pretty true in life about everything. We've got the leaders, the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the business owners, and the free thinkers. We all sit in this 2% at the front of the bell curve. We are the people in society that really want to inspire and be inspired, and to connect more deeply with our own truth so we can share that with others and make real change in the world. Now, my guess is that if this is resonating with you and you're still listening, then you're also really passionate about what you do. You love to be inspired, but you're also very inspiring. You're a creative person, whether it's in the arts or just the way that you attack a challenge in business. You can see a problem and you're instantly solving it in your head. So you're the person at the barbecue who has tackled half of the world's problems before the first course, and you're not into boring conversations gossiping about the latest movie stars or what other people are doing or what they're wearing. You don't care about the latest reality TV show or who's dating who. I doubt you even watch much television at all, because you'd rather be living your life, not watching others do it. If you have the telly on, it's probably because you're watching a documentary. You're into talking about experiences, ideas, and innovations and new solutions, and how we can live better and help others in the world. You're also very much about truth in your world. You crave to be around honest people and those that are committed to being truthful about themselves and what they're trying to overcome, and are completely inspired by other people when they share their authentic truth and their stories. You are very guided by this notion of connection and how it can bring more into our lives and personal performance. So that's probably why you clicked on this podcast, to see what it was all about. And every person that I interview, or every topic that I'm going to speak about, will be around that theme of connection, because it absolutely drives me, and from what I've been seeing in marketing for over 25 years, it's at the core of what every successful business and entrepreneur does. And sometimes I'm guessing that you also really overwhelm people. I know that sometimes I dial myself back because these big conversations around connection and passion and inspiration and innovation, it's just too much for a lot of people. I often get asked, don't you ever sleep, or does your brain ever stop ticking over? And when do you switch off? The thing is, people like us don't switch off, and I crave finding other people who also don't want to switch off. Now, on a personal note, I was married to a man for 20 years who was textbook intelligent, but didn't embrace these bigger conversations. And when I look back, it was really hard for me to grow during that time. It's so important that you find your tribe, and we're going to tackle all of these tricky topics in future podcasts, because it's vital that you feel supported while you explore your own connection to yourself and the world. So I grew up in regional Australia on a farm, so you can imagine what that was like for me, never ever feeling like I really fitted in. I've been living in Sydney for the past 30 years, but it can still be hard to find people that are like us. And that's what's actually caused myself and my business partners to create our second creative agency, which is Heretic. The modern day definition for heretic is a free thinker, a renegade, and somebody that holds an opinion that is at odds with what is generally accepted by the greater population. Our sole purpose was that we wanted to create a creative agency for entrepreneurs who thought like us. They want to really push the creative aspect of their brand, to do really imaginative and innovative things in their industries, and where we could use our marketing and video skill sets and really help these innovators to be at the top of their game and to amplify their unique messages completely uninhibited. Now, these people are the 2%, and we created an agency just for them. So just like this podcast and video channel, it's a content and discussion space to really encourage people that have an affinity with being a heretical thinker and that has a really deep interest in connection, to consciously create your life and to find more passion and meaning and joy in all that you do. So from your business to your personal life, we want to really encourage others to try and do things differently and be a business and human that supports innovation and connection and change, because that is what the world really needs right now. So you'll hear throughout the year on how to market your business with true connection, because this stuff really, really works. I have clients that only 10 years ago were just one showroom in Queensland, and now they're 9 showrooms around Australia, and they sell 27,000 units of caravans and camper trailers a year. And when you consider the average price is around 25,000 plus, you can see that this is a really big business now. And their spike of growth all came through from really connecting to their core message and knowing exactly who they are, who their clients are, and delivering products that they really needed and want at a much more affordable price. Now, this company really turned the caravan industry on its head when they blasted into the marketplace, and I'm really proud to say we were part of that growth for them. And what they did with their marketing through my agency was where they had the most impact. They turned ordinary, everyday salespeople that was their team, who were the customer-facing end of the business, and we turned them into absolute rock stars throughout all of the marketing material we put together. We made it all about the team through their research and development videos and their how-to videos. We personalised all of their social media and being really live and personal when they showed their products at expos. So their audience loved it and really embraced it, and they created 2 and 3 generations of loyal customers. So it was a really incredible experience for me to see how it all worked, and that is honestly where I started to realize the power of connecting on every level to your business, to your people and your customers. And we've been doing connection marketing with clients like this for decades now because it works. And most importantly, it differentiates you completely differently from your competition, that they don't actually stand a chance of beating you because it's actually your game. People can copy your sales copy, they can mimic your ads, they can use all of your taglines, and believe me, I know this because it happens to me too, but they can't copy your most important asset, and that is you, your people, your core values, and your why. So that's your secret sauce, and it's impossible to copy that with any real authenticity. So the caravan company that I just mentioned to you, they didn't pay their staff big money at all. It was quite the opposite, in fact. And they were really rough and ready bunch of people. But they really bonded to their audience by giving their managers of each state complete creative control of how they ran their own operations. And they gave them real ownership and buy-in with the brand. They had a real say in how the company was growing, and people would often think that the state managers were the bosses because of how much they cared and how much they personally put in. Their team were completely invested and connected to that company, and it was never ever about the money. It was so much deeper than that, and it really reflected in the success of their brand. Now, I know people talk a lot about culture, and what they're really talking about with culture is connection. So I want to empower you with those kind of beliefs and skills by getting in all kinds of professionals to work on our business skills and personal development. So from performance coaches to elite athletes and musicians and actors who are really at the top of their game. We'll be interviewing business leaders and psychologists, even tantra instructors and nutritionists and alternative health therapists, doctors, motivational speakers. I've got business growth experts, investors, social media influencers, meditation instructors and yogis, PR experts and videographers. So it's going to be a really crazy mixed bunch of people. And each week the theme will be strongly gravitating around the concept of connection. So whether it's going to be connection to yourself or your partner or relationships, maybe your team or your business, the communities, your clients, and even on a global scale. So Simon Sinek says, there are 2 ways to build a career or a business. We can go through life hunting and pecking, looking for opportunities or customers, hoping that something's going to connect. Or we can go through life with intention and knowing what our peace looks like, knowing our why and going straight to the places we fit. I really am on a mission about changing the world through connection and bringing more heart and passion back into our lives. And it really does start at the grassroots right here with how we spend our time and who we let occupy space in our brains. Now, there was a time not that long ago that I would have been far too bashful and self-conscious to even admit that I wanted to make any kind of impact on a global scale. I would have been far too wrapped up in worrying about your judgment of me and telling myself stories like, who does she think she is, saying that she wants to impact the world, and the old chestnut, she is so up herself. So I'm a farmer's daughter, and I grew up with a lot of self-limiting beliefs around what women can do, that money was really hard to make, and if you had a lot of it, then you really shouldn't be trusted. And even worse, that you had to be successful to be lovable or likable. Now, I just want to mention at this point that my parents are very loving and good people, and that these were just the stories and self-limiting beliefs that I concocted myself as a child. Now, we all do it. They're just stories that our brain creates to keep us safe. We have this wonderful, overprotective brain that used to have to work overtime to keep us safe from real danger, such as saber-toothed tigers and other predators. But now we live such comfortable lives and safe lives, and our brain has to busy itself other ways. So concocting these stories and running with these kind of patterns and limiting beliefs is the result. So these false beliefs, they ruled my world for many years. And yes, I have a small and successful agency that has supported my family for most of my adult life. And I have 3 wonderful teenage sons, and I've been their main carer and sole provider for most of their lives. So my business has served me really, really well. But all of these stories mess with you, and for years I played it safe and stayed small. And I see these blocks everywhere with so many small businesses that never really get out of that small business, too busy, got no regular cash flow cycle, which just keeps playing us to be small and safe. So thankfully, I've overcome these really crappy old thought patterns, and I'll be sharing with you through this podcast some of my strategies to do this, and also the people that help me get past my own head trash and monkey mind thinking. Because I connected deep into myself to the root of these self-sabotaging stories. I was never going to get the success and growth that I was ever capable of until I did that. So why do you think connection to ourselves and our communities and our world are so vital? Well, human beings absolutely thrive on connection because it's coded into our DNA. So we as a society, however, have become really disconnected from our personal truths, that over the generations we have just blindly bought into the marketing hype of how we should be living, that we haven't pulled ourselves up and actually asked ourselves the question, am I happy? Depression rates have been steadily rising since the mid-1930s, and approximately 40 million American adults are said to have an anxiety disorder, and children are now medicated with psychiatric drugs. There is a groundswell of people questioning the way we do everything. And it's fair to say that we have been living in an unconscious bubble for many decades. Now, most people cannot honestly say that they are happy with their lives, no matter their personal wealth or their status. We were really sold the dream of work hard, save hard, go in a seriously huge debt to buy a house, and you'll be happy when you retire. But it's not making us happy now. There is a wave of change coming, and it's been happening for some time now. People are really waking up and questioning the way that we do everything. We are craving to be less busy, less consumed by stuff, and wanting to feel more connected to ourselves and just to each other again. We want to do the kind of work and have the kind of businesses that really has a positive effect on the world and our environment. And it's a really exciting time for businesses who can recognize this change and are able to embrace it. So sustainability and consciousness and meaningful experiences and connection and providing real value for services and products that people really need and benefit from, and innovating and finding solutions that help people to connect with themselves and their communities again. This is how business could be providing real value moving into the future, and it can be your real point of difference. Now, we are living in a really exciting time because we will either botch it big time with the planet, or we're going to live through the most amazing time of change and innovation that we've ever known to make things right again on this planet. So I'm very hopeful it's the latter, because I'm always an optimist, and I believe that there are enough change makers and heretics out there to really make it happen. Connection has always been the answer. I know the closer that I get to connecting to myself, to who I truly am, and how I can truly have a more meaningful life by helping others, and the amazing experiences and connections that that brings, the happier I become. So think of your happiest memories. I bet they are about people and the human experiences you had. It's always the simple things that bring the most joy. So I work in the camping industry a lot with clients, and it is absolutely booming for the past 10 years. People have been craving less digital time and a lot more family time. They are returning to the ways of old and remembering their own camping trips as a kid. So we used to coach the sales teams to share stories of camping and families having a wonderful time together as a way of connecting their potential clients to their products through their own individual happy experiences. It worked a lot better than just speaking about the features and the benefits of their products, as you can imagine. You want your marketing to not feel like you're selling. It has to feel right to the customer. It has to be like it's coming from a trusted big brother or a sister or a friend, sharing their expertise and help with you, and you want to become that person to your audience. So I really believe that the era of big corporations and big business, it's behind us. So as a society, we are more disconnected and disenfranchised than ever with the machine of business and the disappointments that they dish up to us on a daily basis as customers. I don't know anybody that actually likes the self-serve counters in our supermarkets, and apparently even McDonald's has a self-serve option now. Banks have been disjointing themselves from their customers for years, closing down the shopfront stores and then removing managers from their branches and forcing us to use online banking and automatic telling machines for literally all of our transactions. They've taken away that human element, and that's the very part that bonds us to their brand. So technology was touted as being our greatest friend, but all it's actually doing is becoming a barrier between the customer and the service we provide. And that is a terrible way to try and grow brand loyalty. I read something great by Brianna West, and it has really stuck with me. The reason people try to fake their way into being liked is they confuse attention for connection, and they are not the same thing. So these things, our mobiles, they're our greatest friends, and they're also our worst foes. We have let them get in the way of our entire lives, and social media faces a lot of the backlash. But it's not social media that is disconnecting us from our surrounding, it's us and the way we choose to use it. We have really fallen into the inauthentic trap, where we have created a glossy facade of our lives by bragging and only showing the highlight reel of what we think people want to see, and thus we completely lose connection because it isn't real. And on a deep level, our audience feels it when we aren't authentic, so they don't connect with us. So I know that when I pull back the curtains and put up a social media post of something that is real in my life or my business, it gets far greater traction than the polish of trying to present as being picture perfect. That's why Facebook and Instagram stories is so successful. It just feels real. It's far less polished and by far more engaging if you want to make an honest and open relationship with your audience. And if you watch any successful entrepreneur online now, more and more they're stripping back that glossy veneer and appearing online in their sweaty running gear or without makeup, and they're showing behind the scenes of their latest launch. And we are lapping it up because that connection and getting to see them as real people, it really works. So I'll share a bit of a personal story with you now in answer to what many people wonder, which is how much do you share with your audience online? So a few years ago, I had a really terrible personal tragedy in my life. My second husband, he unexpectedly died from a massive heart attack, and I was faced with a very tough decision about how to manage this period of my life because I'm in marketing. So did I just go to ground and completely flip on my audience and becoming really quiet and reserved and not sharing with them? Or would I sort of just still be myself, grief and all, and share with them a little bit of what my family was going through? So I opted on the latter. People were really stunned at the horrible tragedy that had happened to me because I was only 45 and he was only 48. So it was a real shock for everybody. And a very caring friend who was in PR wrote a really lovely, but it was terribly impersonal notice about his death for me to share, about how much I would be needing a little time away from the business to grieve, etc., etc. And when I read it, I thought, look, that's nice, but it's so impersonal and it's not me. That's not how I do things, and it's really contradictory. So against her advice, I trusted my own gut instincts and my own belief in the power of connection, and I sent out a much longer, far more personal and real email to all of my clients and audience about how it was for me right now. And the truth was, I also couldn't afford to take much time off work because, as I said before, I was a solo mum of 3 teenage sons with a very small team. They had their own families to support, and I had a big house to sustain and a lot of outgoings. And if truth be told, I actually didn't want to stop working. So we keep talking about connection. Well, my business and my work is actually what connected me back to myself at that time of grief. And I actually needed to do that to feel normal and to help me really get through that period. So I sent out a newsletter asking people not to feel weird about reaching out and giving me work, and to actually, it would help me just by acting like business as usual. And thankfully that worked. And to my knowledge, I only lost one job that had been in the pipeline at that time. And people were relieved to just be told what to do because they did not have a clue how to treat me. I have to be honest, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So I got to keep on living life as normally as I could, and by staying true and personal, I actually gifted my friends and my colleagues and my clients with the opportunity to help me through a really difficult time. So this is why I'm so passionate about connection. There's no magic platform that will ensure your message is heard by everybody. You just need to chip away at this and build a really loyal audience who digs what you do by being very regular and consistent and having a common theme that people can identify as you. People are so time poor and overwhelmed with all of the content out there. You just need to stand out, and the best way to do that is to engage and connect through answering their fears and pains that keep them awake at night. To have this knowledge and to be able to be the solution to those fears will connect you to your audience far greater than the latest bright, shiny objects or super duper sales funnels. So Seth Godin said, "Our job is to connect to people, to interact with them in a way that leaves them better than we found them and more able to get where they'd like to go." So I've been really feeling this and working towards this for the past decade with my work and my practices. And it's at the core of most of the Western world's problems. If we could get back to ourselves as humans, just being and living with love and compassion, so free from all judgment and this crazy desire to dominate others, and just get back to the basics of true and pure connection in every aspect, how good would our lives be? So my business partner and I, we came up with this reason behind why we started Heretic Creative Agency and why I started the Connected podcast and video channel. It's because I want to live an extraordinary life. An extraordinary life is getting to be and do who you are to your core value system every single day of your life. Living an extraordinary life also means having rock solid belief in what you're doing and putting your message out there to the universe. So the whole point of this podcast is to bring you people that can help you really dig deep into yourself and attain that kind of self-belief that you need so you can be a high performer and really work to the optimum of what you want to be so you can get your message right out there. And the other thing that we found with leading an extraordinary life was that we wanted to be around people that were game changers, absolutely leading their industries or leading their movements and making seriously big changes in the world, because that is what our world needs. And this is who we see as the 2%, and this is who we want to work with in our extraordinary life. So I really encourage you to figure out what is it for you that makes your life extraordinary and what is it that you need to be doing every day. And I'm hoping that you find that this podcast is actually going to inspire you and be part of your journey in creating an extraordinary life for you. And you know what? It's that simple. You live your life to your values and you really will be living congruently, and you will be happy, and you will have that rock solid self-belief in everything that you do. It's not hard to live an extraordinary life. You just have to know who you are.